shelter. Simple life is all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Yeah.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the We2R Movement platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Again, this is your one-on-one platform, the We2R Movement platform, the one-on-one platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we are in the business of revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Today is another exciting day. Our topic for the day is a pretty simple topic. It was posted on Facebook many hours ago, maybe 4 or 5 hours ago. Title: Are you called to be a pastor or a Christian capitalist? For the last several shows that we had topics such as why do we nickel and dime our own, but we spend millions on Louis Vuitton and Gucci, Tom Ford, et cetera, et cetera. And then our most recent topic, just before this topic, was what was the topic? I'm pretty sure it was a pretty simple topic, and I'm pretty sure it was something that that was really mind blowing. And that topic was, I think it pretty much had to do with our purpose. Blessed are those who actually find their purpose and are living them. That was the most recent topic. And so today we thought to bring to the forefront another exciting topic that pretty much, I think this topic also aligns with the last previous topics. And so the question tonight, which is our topic: are you called to be a pastor or a Christian capitalist? And why did I actually bring this to the forefront or brought to the table is based on the simple fact that we've seen that our pastors, those who have pretty much put themselves in a position, some of them, not all of them, because I am of strong conviction that some of, I'll say pastors of our churches, our various churches, some of them were actually called to be pastors, some were called to be priests, some were called to be, I'll say, teachers and things of that nature. But the real truth is some were not called to be pastor. And, for tonight, I'm going to be using Jesus as a classical example, because we're going to have to exegete the life of Jesus if we have to kind of, break this down so that parishioners, so that members of the church, so that followers of certain congregations will be able to understand. Again, if you have just tuned in, you're watching the We2R Movement platform. And this is the platform that's in the business of decolonizing the mind and changing our thought process. So tonight, again, we wanted to bring an exciting topic, which is, I think it's a topic that will be very thought-provoking, and it's something not to create some kind of animosity, to create some level of tension, but to kind of give an insight to parishioners, members of churches, those who are followers of these various churches, and a sense of what they're doing. I think this topic is an enlightenment. This topic will give sight to the blind. This topic will create an opportunity for those who are deaf to be able to hear. Those who are unable to speak will be able to speak. And this is the essence of this platform, to open the eyes of the blind, to raise the consciousness of the people. And so, let's begin with who's a Christian, or what does it mean to be a Christian. I believe strongly that Christian actually, the root word Christ. If one was to ask you what's the meaning of Christian, just to break it down for the general public, I think Christian, simply put, is Christ I am now. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I think that a lot of churches actually are ripping their members off and taking advantage of their members, especially those who have been placed in that particular capacity. I'm not even sure if they were placed in the capacity or they call themselves to those positions as pastors. Because if you are a pastor, then it means that your lifestyle must pretty much emulate, must actually align, must be symbolic of the lifestyle of the one who you are following. And for those who will be following you should be able to benefit from the lifestyle that you portray, that you exhibit, your teaching. But we have come to realize that a lot of these churches are really exploiting their members. They're taking advantage of their members, because the real truth is, if you have been called to be a pastor, Jesus himself, let me just run right into it because we don't have time. What I want to do tonight, I want to get to the point, and pretty much I'll say 15. The most is going to be 20 minutes. Again, are you being called to be a pastor, or you're a Christian capitalist? And so if you have not been called to be a pastor, then you will have to find something, some other vocation or some other profession, a craft to try to get into, rather than try to squander funds or to take advantage to prey on your members, and to keep these people poor, because your goal and objective is actually to enrich yourself, to create some kind of wealth for yourself, some kind of fame and popularity. So we want to actually give our followers, our members, the We2R Movement followers, we want to give them insight. So if you're a member of a particular church, hopefully you'll be able to sit there, read your Bible, and sometimes a lot of people will say, why you want to think things through? And I think it's important for us to do that, because the Jesus Christ that you are a follower of, let's try to kind of look at his life. Jesus, in fact, was a carpenter. His earthly father was a carpenter. His mother was Mary, ghetto fabulous Mary. Let's see where Jesus was born. Jesus was born with stinking animal. And why am I using these examples? Because we see now the pastors, those who call themselves pastors, who are in the business of exploiting the members, knowing full well that they have not been called to the post. They have not been called to serve in that capacity. But because there's a major problem with there's a saying that says that. Let me get to the point. Assimilating to what society considered normal can be a weapon of mass destruction. So just because James has called himself, because he was not called to be a pastor, and now you see that James is living a lifestyle where he has dominance over his members, who takes the members, or member would take care of him, will buy him everything that he needs, from shoes, clothing. I'm talking about all of his attires are being bought by members of the church. And the sad thing about it here is that those who are members of those churches are struggling, not even able to pay their bills, not being able to pay, to take care of their family, and not only bills, family. So now you have committed yourself to following a particular individual who profess to be called to serve as a pastor. Now he's serving in that capacity, but the lifestyle that he portrays does not really exemplify, or does not, manifest or demonstrate Christ-like behavior. So I began the show by talking about Jesus' parents. We see his parents. His parents were Mary and Joseph. We see where he was born, a stinking animal. We see his triumphant entry into Jerusalem. He had to borrow someone's camel. We see how he fed the 5,000. He had to borrow, someone's fish and bread. He didn't have a black card. We see how Jesus was buried. He was not buried in the mausoleum. Rather, they had to borrow someone's tomb. So if Jesus' life was a life of humility, a life where he came to serve, he came to lay himself down as a living sacrifice, then why are you now, who profess to be called a pastor? You want to live in the best house, which I'm not against. You want to ride the best of cars at the expense of your members. You want to live extravagantly. You want to save for yourself a huge bank account. You want to have all of the businesses, wear the best attires, leaving your members living in abject poverty, suppressing your members, not giving them the requisite information that will help them excel and be better in life. So I wanted to kind of come to the show today just to kind of give members who are following these pastors, because see your churches, the churches now that you go to, the pastor, look at the sanctuary. You pay pretty much all the tithes and offerings. There's nothing wrong with it. Besides that, you have to spend an additional cash to take care of the pastor that you call daddy. You have to pay his rent. If he's mortgaging a house, you have to pay his mortgage. But now, if you are in any problem, you have your kids. Your kids are going to run down schools, and you're broke as hell. You're not able to pay your bill or your bills. You're behind if you're paying it most of the time. But you're making sure that this pastor gets everything that he needs. You're making sure, in fact, you adore this pastor to the point where you disrespect your husband, or on the flip side, the man disrespects his wife if the man is committed to the pastor. So Jesus actually, who is the prime to everything that we do as Christians. If you've been called to be a pastor, then it means that you have to be a servant. You have to be humble. You have to serve your members. You have to ensure that your members have their basic needs met, but not to exploit your members of whatever they have, not to prey on them and indoctrinate them and scare them to death that if they don't take care of the pastor, this is not going to happen. Or if they don't give the pastor this and that, this in monetary value or gift or whatsoever, that is not going to happen. The book says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And if we ask, it shall be given. We knock, the door will be open. So I think members need to understand some pretty basic, simple, I would just say, break it down, things so that they can succeed, thrive, and make better of themselves, rather than following a lot of these pastors who call themselves, pastors and are not, doing what they've been called to do. So we wanted to kind of come to the forefront today, to the platform, just to give, people, those who are following a lot of these churches. Now, see these churches, so a lot of the churches now, why is it that these churches are not, the pastors are not praying in a way that they are providing some level of healing in the church? This is not happening anymore, because instead of these pastors actually praying, seeking the face of God, for their members or for themselves, They are more about the acquisition of wealth. I'll give you a classic example. A lot of churches you see around there, they have glass windows. These churches are mega churches. They have everything. But you'll have the members struggling to pay their mortgage, struggling to pay their rent, struggling to take care of themselves, struggling just to provide the basic social needs for their family. But here you have this pastor. He drives the best car. He lives in the best neighborhood. You know, he has all of the resources that he needs to live comfortably. Matter of fact, he lives in the suburb. But because you are the member, you have been preyed on to think that, oh, you know what, the pastor, I have to make sure that the pastor gets this and gets that. Don't get me wrong. Yes, we must respect and adore, and to an extent, our spiritual leaders. But to get to the point where, you've been suppressed, you've been indoctrinated, to think that you are to be responsible for the well-being of your pastor, I think that's wrong. Because those pastors, if you're called to be a pastor, you're called to be a pastor, then you have to go to work. Because, for example, the disciples of Jesus, a lot of them, they had their own personal career. So I think it's important, it'll be relevant for pastors to also seek employment opportunity. If you're in the position to have a church where the church members are capable enough of sustaining you and themselves, that's fine. But pastors who are in the position or in the constant habit of trying to rip their members off, it becomes a problem. This now has become some level of competition. And so that's why we have read and have sat down, we've done our own analysis, dissected some of these stuff and then done our due diligence. We want to come to just give, our people insight so that they can be aware of the tricks, of the lies, the deceit, the hypocrisies. Because these pastors are the one trying to exploit you of your little money, trying to exploit you of your little wealth. I see people give their all away, and they go back poor. Who told you that, when you die, you're going to go to this place called heaven, you're going to go to this place called hell. So you have to leave your heaven and your earth right here. There's nothing wrong with it. I give you an example just now about Jesus, the Jesus who, gave his life, give himself for you and me. The Jesus who died on the cross for you and me, according to the text, did not exploit any of his people. Rather, he gave his people. And we're giving you an example. You have these pastors, they don't want to be servant. They don't want to go through the period of carpentry. That is to be humble, to work diligently, to seek the face of God, rather than want to prey on their members to excel. When Jesus, in fact, did not do that. Jesus was a servant. Jesus was a carpenter. A pastor won't preach a message titled, Jesus was not only a king, he was also a carpenter. And I just gave examples to prove Jesus's humility. We saw his triumphant entry into Jerusalem. We saw where he was born. Those are classical examples. We saw how he fed the 5,000. Never had a black card. You know what I mean? When he traveled, never had a jet. Someone will come back and try to argue and say, well, that was that. But if we are if we profess to be called, as pastors, rather than not being Christian capitalists, then we will make sure that we humble ourselves as we serve in this capacity to ensure that our members, are thriving. We're teaching them, financial literacy, education, so that then, in fact, a lot of these churches, some of the members can't even afford to maintain their jobs. They're not being taught to actually equip themselves academically. They are not being taught to equip themselves, by sustaining their jobs. Just pretty simple lifestyle, discipline. These pastors are not making sure that they get one would try to argue and say this is not the pastor's responsibility. But what I'm trying to say here, if you have been called for such a time and a season to serve as pastors to lead your church, then you will be giving your parishioners, you will be giving your members, you will be feeding the flocks. You will be ensuring, you will be making sure that they have access to everything that they need to be better. Everything that they need to succeed in life and not to exploit them. I see a lot of females, who have been suppressed, oppressed, indoctrinated to think that the pastor has to pray for you, in order for you to give this. He said, the book said, come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden. You don't have to be a pastor to seek the face of God. You don't have to be a deacon to seek the face of God. So these pastors are taking advantage of you. So you have to know what happened to these big churches that are all over the place. They have these big facilities. And when you look right next door, you have people living in the street. You have people, sleeping, in abandoned buildings and things like that. So why is the church not going out there to bring these people? These churches have glass windows. They have marble tires all over the place. And you have people dying of starvation. I just saw a video of the President Borghi in Italy, I guess, or in the Vatican meeting with the Pope. I'm not trying to take this thing too far, but it's a fact. Does he really need to go there to get blessing? No, blessing comes from above. If we seek him, the one who created us or who created us, well, definitely you will be blessed. If you're humble, you will be blessed. If you live right, you will be blessed. If you seek him first, his kingdom, his righteousness, you will be blessed. Meaning that if you study to show yourself approved, definitely what you're looking for, you will achieve it. So you don't need a pastor. Of course, the teaching is good, but not to, give your all, your 100%, your cash or whatever. You're buying this pastor, his outfit, you're buying his shoes, you're feeding him, you're giving him cars, and then you don't have anything. Your whole life is centered around the pastor. Whatever you do, you have to consult him. You have to build yourself up, because that pastor, who that pastor? That pastor is the Christian capitalist, because what he's doing is about business. It's about enriching himself. It's about profiting. It's about reaping dividend. It's about, making sure that his family, he and his family, or him and his family, are brought up while you've been pushed down. So the thing here is, we have to understand these pretty basic things. It was the same Bible that these people used to exploit us. And they're still using the same ideology, the same technique, the same, style to keep you down. And if you have not learned anything, I think this is the perfect opportunity. I wish some of these pastors will be able to come to the forefront to answer these questions. Because if you have not been called to be a pastor, then you might as well just walk away. If you have not been called to be a pastor, but rather a Christian capitalist, to take advantage of your operation, to take advantage of these people, to suppress these people, then it will be a problem. So we are not afraid to openly speak on this subject. We want to make sure that the parishioner, it's crazy, because when I was in Liberia just several weeks ago, talking to one of my in-laws, and I tried to give her a little words of wisdom, and it seemed like she's all in this bubble. She's tied up, and she didn't want to listen to anything. Whatever I was saying did not sound right, because she feels as though whatever her pastor is telling her, whatever her pastor is doing or has done for us, for her and her family, is all super 100% right. But I can tell you, man, we have to open our eyes. We have to actually seek God for ourselves. We have to actually re-examine ourselves rather than just giving our all, laying ourselves down, when these pastors are to be the ones, actually giving themselves, sacrificing themselves. So as example of the one that we are to follow, or the one that we are following. So again, the topic for today: are you called to be a pastor, or are you called to be a Christian capitalist? It's a very sensitive topic, but I think this topic is worthwhile to be talked about. Why is it that we have all these multiple churches around? How about we all come together and just form this one big cathedral where we can all go, because we're worshiping the same God? Why is it that we all need to have these prayer lines? We have these separate, fellowship and things like that. If we were all to come together, we're all Christian, right? And we're seeking this one Jesus. We're following this one Jesus. We're following this one God. So why is it that we've become separatists? We're divided. We're separated. The reason why we're separated and separated so bad is because of the money. Because one wants to have his own finances. One wants to have his own follower. And the more follower he or she has, the more profit, the more money, the more wealth is being acquired. So if you're actually called to be a pastor, then it means that your lifestyle must be Christ's lifestyle, Christ-like, so to speak. And doing my opening statement, I just talked about the Jesus that we follow, the Christ that we follow. Why is it that we are not following that lifestyle? Why do you need a Mercedes Benz? Why do you need, a BMW as the pastor? Go sell the BMW. Go sell your house. Go sell all the wealth and then give it to the poor. Because the one who you profess to be following, now that you've been called to be this pastor, the one said, foxes have holes, birds have nets. The Son of Man does not have a place to lay his head. I'm not saying that we should not acquire for ourselves wealth. But when we take it to the extent where we're exploiting our people, exploiting these people, keeping them, low so that the poor can be poor and you're the pastor to elevate yourself so that you can be exalted, ripping them of the little that they have. That's being, if you're female, that's being a witchcraft, and you the male, you being a wizard. So we need to re-examine ourselves. Because a lot of these pastors, they have assembled for themselves. The bookman would say an ecclesiastic list or aggregate of accoutrements, meaning that you go to the church, see the choir, see the sanctuary, see the seating. But do you know that a lot of these churches are operating as usual? Because when you say website, number one, choir, number one, building, number one. When you say Jesus is not in these churches. He already left. So a lot of these churches now are operating as usual because the Jesus that they're talking about, he's not in that church. Because if you are a Christ-like pastor, one who has been called for such a time in the season to lead the flock, then your lifestyle would truly exhibit what Jesus' lifestyle was all about. Jesus was about the people. He was about serving the people. He was about feeding the people. He was about healing the sick. You know what I mean? Raising the dead. We saw what he did with Lazarus. How many of our pastors now today can do that? Because you know you're not seeking God. You're not diligently seeking the face of the Lord. Why Jesus had to wait 3 days for Lazarus? Because he wanted to prove a point that he served a big God. And because Jesus is not in these churches, these so-called pastors that are Christian capitalists here to steal from the parishioners, to steal from the members, suppressing you. You're not able to pay your rent. You're not able to pay your car note, or you're not even able to afford yourself a car, not even able to advance yourself, because he's telling you that you don't need to advance yourself. He's telling you that you don't need to add value to yourself. He's telling you that, oh no, you don't need wealth. But why is it that he needs all the nice clothes? Why is it that he needs to drive the best car or best cars? Why is it that he wants to have all the nice necklaces, bracelets? You know what I mean? You see some of them. The glasses, the goggle, all that stuff. Is that Christ-like? When you continue to keep your parishioners down, you continue to lie to your parishioners, knowing fully well that you have not been called to be a pastor. Rather, you are a Christian capitalist. We need to re-examine ourselves. We need to search ourselves. We need to open our eyes. We need to seek God for ourselves. The reason why I wanted to bring this to the forefront, because I think our people are being suppressed. Our people are being oppressed by the oppressors. And so now it's time that we open the eyes of the blind. It's time that those of you who cannot hear start hearing. And the reason why we've brought this to the forefront, I want to leave you with something, and I'll say it two ways. Assimilating to what society consider normal can be a weapon of mass destruction. You got to be you. And I know a lot of times the reason why we are going after these pastors is only because we want so much of the things of this world. And there are proper channels and ways in which we can seek the things of this world. He said, be not deceived, for God is not mocked. A man will reap what he sowed. Work while it is day. When night coming, you can work no longer. You know what I mean? The universe gives you back what you give it. You have to work. You have to seek diligently. You have to study to show yourself approved. You have to add value to your life. I can tell you, you'll be able to speak things into existence. You wouldn't need the pastor who will lie to you and tell you that if you bring him this, you bring him that, he'll pray for you and this and that will happen to you. He didn't create you. Again, not to sound repetitive, it goes back. We keep going in circle. The book says that, for I know the plans that I have for you, not to harm you, but to prosper you and bring you to an expected end. And that was even before you were born. So why will you allow one pastor, one so-called Christian capitalist who called himself pastor, to rip you off of everything? You are not able. These pastors will suppress their members to the point when they're supposed to be teaching these people to be independent, teaching these people to be empowered, cultivating these people. Rather, they're exploiting these people. And these so-called pastors, they have a way, and they know exactly who to target, because they target a lot of the females and the weak males. Because we're not really seeking the true Christ. Unfortunately, you don't even know that. Christ, you see Christ every day. Because there's a lot of people that you come across sometimes. And the reason why you don't really see the Christ in them, because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to see that. He's not coming again. So we're not allowed one Christian capitalist who profess to be a pastor to keep you down, to suppress you, so that you cannot reach your full potential. He steals all your money. Go and see some of them what they built for themselves in Africa. Go and see in fact, just locally in the States, what they have acquired. Jesus did not live in a split level home. He never rode a Bentley. Again, you saw his triumphant entry into Jerusalem. He had to borrow someone's camel. We saw how he fed the 5,000. We keep repeating it. If it comes by hearing the word, we want to make sure that we're resounding. So if you have just tuned in, you're watching the We2R Movement platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people. I don't want to be long today. I just want to come up with this very short topic. Because the past several topics that we've been having, it's just all about building the human capacity and just, you know what I mean, invigorating or reinvigorating or stimulating your mind. Again, I just go back, even though today's topic is a question that's being asked, are you called to be a pastor or a Christian capitalist? That's a big question for you. So let's all come together now, if we're not Christian capitalists, and just form this one big church that we all can go to and have just one pastor or two pastors. But the reason why you guys are so divided, and you know that for a fact, is because you want to have your own separate finance budget to run. You know, you want to be adored. You want to be taken care of. You will want to have a group of folks that you can suppress and oppress, keep them down so that you can be on top. So again, you've been called to be a pastor. If not, you've been called to be a Christian capitalist, then you must, you know what I mean, find a different, I would say a different vocation or a different profession, different craft that you can walk into. But to profess to be, you know, a pastor, one who represents Christ, you know, as opposed to being a Christian capitalist, that is one who has stepped into the realm of serving in that capacity only to rip, you know, riches, you know, squander funds from the parishioners and to take advantage of them. I think that's totally wrong. So that's how we're going to conclude tonight's edition of the show. Again, that ends with a question: are you called to be a pastor or a Christian capitalist? I have been your host as usual, Ayiti Williams. I look forward to talking to you guys here in a few days, and you have a good and pleasant night. I look forward to actually talking to you guys here pretty soon. But look out and be mindful of, you know, these Christian capitalists who profess to be pastors. Again, this is how we conclude the show. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to talking to you.
Simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Yeah. Simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Yeah.